today is a work period for Sangha House Nola. What does that kind of entail?
A typical day at Sangha House NOLA on our actual work day entails following up on events, planning our embodied Dharma action in the community. So a lot of marketing, a lot of grant researching, in the middle of building our website so that as we bring more people to practice with us, but also to turn around and engage our services, what those kinds of things looking at a few different platforms of how best to organize that and to keep that going with ease, since we don't have a lot of admin hands to care for that. So just really the beginning stages of building something great that's already out ahead of us, and how do we catch up to the work that we're doing, to the needs of the community that are present. How do we get something underneath us foundationally to sustain our efforts, to make it with ease, to of course archive the work, but at the same time to inspire others to partake in that with us. So it's a little bit of just co-creating collectively of what this vision looks like and how it continues to unfold in such a beautiful way. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of screen time, more screen time than we'd like. It's a lot of navigating between what's required of operating in the worldly ways and being true and authentic to our Buddhist practice and how we want to show up. So it's a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's yeah, I guess like I can ask some things along this line, but there is that balance, right? Of like, you want to you have the worldly elements, the worldly matters that you necessarily have to kind of engage with and contend with and all that. And then there is this step back that's very important, which is like to have moments to make your focus on your breath or focus on practice and to do ritual and to be in community and all and like do make sure that you're not overextending yourself and all of these different things. It is a hard balance to toe. And are there some techniques, because I know that maybe so for some other people that might not do work within the Buddhist community but just work do contend with worldly matters in their own individual careers. What are there some things that you would offer to people that are trying to strike that balance in a healthy way?
I think just to let you know, the embodied Dharma, the practices, the teachings, whatever that is for us, right? The all-encompassing Dharma, all worldly Dharma as Dharma to be the nourishment that cultivates that for us. So it has to be the foundation. It has to be the impact, so in a sort of right livelihood, so to say, whatever the impact is, whether that is supporting our family and our livelihood, that in turn is right livelihood, but whatever the impact of that work is, seeing the benefit, the immediate benefit of generosity, and not so much with our resources, but with all that we have to give, right? Including the merits of our practice. So in this way, essentially, the work becomes nourishing and we understand the importance of it. It helps us step into it a little bit more with ease and some fun, trying to find fun in it.
Right, right. Like elements of play a little bit, just
Yeah,
to
yeah.
keep it interesting.
And
And
Vincent, what I'm really appreciating about this time is like because we're creating it, so we're creating, for instance, our slogan, which is funny, the website designer is like, can y'all come up with a slogan? And we're like, a slogan, like, but then we came up with um, boundless love in action, liberation, practice. So even just coming up with something that says, encompasses, this is who we are, this is who we wish to be, this is why we continue to return to the Dharma. And what does that look like on and off the cushion? So something as simple as coming up with these typical things of, we have to have a slogan and these marketing ideas. But how does it keep us engaged in our practice? How does it inspire us to take the Dharma into the daily life of our communities and beyond? And what does this look like daily for us? So it's a simple way for us to practice something and say, hey, this is our slogan, this is who we are, what we are. And it puts the mirror back on us. It's like, are you that? Are you practicing that? Are you embodying that? How can we do that just a little bit harder today? How can we lean into that boundless love? What does liberation in action look like? So it becomes also a part of our practice, and it helps us to embrace terms like slogan and marketing things that are necessary to operate the world. It's like, this is our Buddhist practice. This is our engaged practice. This is our practice of love and compassion and understanding and interbeing in the world.
Yeah. Well,
So
I'm glad that you're seeing other elements of things beyond just the worldly nature of marketing. You know, you can really look at the value of what the efforts that go into making marketing materials or ads or slogans, like really make that an opportunity to reflect on the mission, on the vision, on who you are as a sangha or as individuals that are participating in this, and something to kind of return back to and say like, uh, it's spelled out very clearly and very succinctly. These are the things that we value, or these are the things that we wish to bring to the world. And it's right there, and you can always refer back to it. And there is this thing. I mean, just thinking about it while talking to you, like maybe there is some sort of value in as an individual exercise. Like what could be your slogan? Like what could be something that could in a few words, maybe a jingle if you want, but like what could like make uh you concentrate and focus your effort into a couple different words that more or less state what you're after. And then two, as far as the front facing element of Sangha House Nola, the website so far, I mean, I know it sounds like you're doing work on it, but the website looks great right now, and it's really spelled out. It's a great resource, I feel like, for understanding what it is that you're doing in the community, but also too just as far as resources for and making sure that everything's very clear for what you can do as a part of the community and what it does in the community with like the links to social media things and everything like that. It looks great.
well,
And
thank you.
in addition to the slogan thing, as far as like what it can spell out in a succinct way, the icon or the image that represents Sangha House Nola. I wanted to ask, would you mind just going over what that image entails?
Yeah, so it's our depiction of the Buddha, right? And so, and I wanted to circle back before I go into that about the slogan and slogan, mantra, whatever we want to name it, right? What is the intentionality behind it? What embodied Dharma are we bringing with it? And it is essentially our koan or our mantra. It's just called something else in a different place in a different form. But when we can take it up to be our living mantra, it's the intentionality that is behind it. And I think that's going to carry us forth into our engaged services. What does Dharma look like in action? What does that particular teaching look like in action? So I just wanted to circle back to that mantra, to our mantra. Yeah. And so this is our tribal Buddha that, reminds us that we are breath warriors, that we are warriors of our mind. So having the clarity, the solidity in the mind where that inner knowing is within ourselves. What does our depiction of the Buddha look like from within, and how we express culturally these body, this speech, and this mind in our community, right? So in the sacred land that supports our practice, that upholds us and lifts us, we wanted something of the Buddha that could represent that. And as a Afro-Indigenous centered focus, how do we start from the beginning and create that? What does that look like for us? So it just gave us an opportunity to reimagine. I think that's what's important for us as we're doing a lot of healing and intergenerational work and the ways that life shows up in our daily life. How can we represent this peaceful, liberated warrior that has seen suffering, that has understood suffering, but can embody the joy and the pain, right? The trials and the tribulations as a practice of interbeing, and that they are one and present at all times. And so this is what came out of that, and we continue to watch it grow.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is, and this is something that I wanted to ask as well, but as far as the mission and the work period or the work day that you're doing today and this week, and as a part of the organization of Sangha House Nola, there is a very integrated part of your surroundings, being in New Orleans and working with communities, working with the Afro-Indigenous communities that you're speaking to and within your sangha, and then the people that are there within New Orleans. And I remember I just saw on your Instagram for the sangha's account that you were part of a MAAFA celebration that was in Congo Square. And I'm not very familiar with New Orleans. I've never been there. But I was wondering what that experience was like, being a part of that annual celebration.
One of our great community leaders, Ashe Cultural Center, this was actually their 25th year anniversary of celebrating Ma'afa here in this land, being traditional on the Mississippi River and being one of the largest ports of enslavement and the transatlantic slave trade. So the human trafficking. So it's not just to recollect and remember, but it's to reimagine and to be the door of return. How do we continue in these bodies, in our liberated practices, and to never forget but what comes out of that, right? What is the transformation and the healing and the reconciliation? So in my Buddhist practice, it's always been about our ancestral healing, remembering situations and experience that these bodies and our communities have experienced and come through. And it's that resiliency and the teachings that once we have this practice of liberating our mind, how do we go back into these spaces and honor, reconcile, remember, and continue to do the healing in our Buddhist practice? And I think it's a great way for us as a Sangha to take peaceful steps, right? So for our ancestors, for the land, and for all involved in these historical times of systemic oppression and enslavement and genocide, or whatever it is, the history of our land and the soil that we have collectively um, and historically continued to perpetuate over and over again. Where is the breaking cycle, and how do we show up peace in ourselves, peace in the world, free in ourselves, free in the world, free for our ancestors? And what is that connection to the land? What is being asked of us? What is our responsibility? And how do we use the liberation practices and the teachings of the Buddha and the Dharma, and what does the Sangha look like that is embodying these practices? So it's more of a lived Dharma, embracing those that have been here. So the New Orleanians that have been here through years and years of doing this great liberatory work and this healing work for the land that's already being done. How do we get in and support and learn and listen and grow from not just our elders, but those in the community that are doing great work as a Buddhist community, right? And as an Afro-centered Buddhist community that is new to this community and is being quite held and lovingly supported, it is part of us giving back and learning and listening to. So it's our responsibility. It's the least that we can do as an act of reciprocity and care for the work that we continue to wish to do and what that looks like, and to include everyone. No one as separate, no view. I think that the Buddhist teachings can encompass the all. It's all there, right? So there's space for all things there, all of the sages, all of the ancestral wisdom, all of the knowledge, and all of the truest practice of the higher beings, right, towards liberation on a path. And I think that's what's required of us in these days and in these times, for us all to be present and to be doing that kind of work, that uplifting work. So we're honored just to be able to witness and walk alongside. Thank you for asking. It was a great practice for us as a Sangha. And this was our second time walking. So it was a beautiful
Yeah.
practice for us.
And it's well, I'm really happy to hear how much of a meaningful moment it was for the community, and then to feel like you have a, a connection to it. Your sangha wants to celebrate this anniversary and commemorate and remember and be there and hold space for so many elements of what the anniversary is celebrating. And then at the same time, you feel as a sangha and maybe as an individual being held by the ceremony itself, by the other community members that might be coming at it from different angles and from different communities. So I'm really glad that this was such a important and meaningful event for you. And I wanted to kind of get into a couple of specifics of it, because visually, just from what I was seeing on the Instagram, there was uh, a tree that had some candles around it, and there were some prostrations that some of the Sangha members were doing. And I was wondering, is there a significance to that tree that was that you were surrounding?
This is the great ancestor tree in Congo Square. So particularly on Sundays, when the enslaved were able to visit and come out on Sundays, and whether it was by trade or dance or the rhythm of the drum, and this great day of freedom, while colonizers and European settlers were in church on Sundays, and this was our opportunity to come together, gather, speak the language of many tongues, the Bulbansha and the indigenous tribes as well, between the Chitimacha, the Black Creole, the Black freedmen and enslaved Africans that were horrifically brought here, right, against their will. And so this ancestor tree has been here and knows all the story. So we look at it sits in the heart of Congo Square, and it is our pillar. It has the wisdom, it has the knowledge, it has the history. So when we are compelled in the Buddhist meditation to awaken to these things and they're at the forefront, it's something that becomes a part of our practice. It's not something that is overlooked, but it compels us to awaken to it. And in this way, many people from all over the world, as they visit this city, they come to Congo Square, they pay homage to the ancestor tree and listen to its wisdom. And we had an opportunity to receive a blessing and also to make a great offering to the ancestor tree here in the land of many tongues, many languages.
Certainly. And how, I mean, how profound. I mean, just from me learning about this, for a living thing to have witnessed so much, and then for it to participate in a symbiotic kind of healing, where maybe it's being healed by the efforts and the work that your sangha is bringing to that, and focusing in that area and in New Orleans and in this country and in this world, but also like right in front of the tree. And then also to this tree that is a remembrance and that is something that has withstood and all of these things. I mean, it really does look like also just a very beautiful tree with these really uh, uh, large root systems that are kind of coming in very strong and sturdy. So I'm really grateful that this was a part of that experience. And there's also uh, many of the people that were participating were wearing white, and there was a procession element as well. It was just a very striking thing to see from a distance. So I'm just really glad that you were able to participate in it and that you were able to share it and that you did share it with the greater digital sphere and to making it available for someone like myself to find it. And just as far as like the experience of bringing the Sangha, establishing the Sangha in New Orleans. I know that Sangha House NOLA wasn't always in New Orleans, and I don't know how much of of Buddhist presence, a Buddhist community is in New Orleans. Uh, did establishing the Sangha House, like the brick and mortar house, which is beautiful, by the way. It's really
Thank you.
I love the architecture. It's just so cool. The did establishing it where it is and in New Orleans, was there any kind of need for a lot of explanation as to what it is that you do on a daily basis, or did it feel like it kind of wove into that tapestry that you talk about on the website really well within the heritage and the culture of New Orleans at large?
Yeah. So you know when you're summoned to do a certain kind of work, when you're brought back home to do a certain kind of work, there's a door and a way that's opened up for you. And what it entails is a great reverence, a great respect, and a great asking of permission, a deep understanding of what listening sounds like, and not the listening that comes with the ear. And a great awareness, right? So, and a great awareness of what's already being done here in the land, the great culture bearers, the spiritual and the faith leaders of this community that have been holding it down um, over generations and generations, whether through trauma, climate disaster, gentrification, the injustices, the food sovereignty, the Black thoroughfares that continue to be taken down, and just the historical healing and the grief that's within the land, and also its resilience, celebration, and its joy. So in our earth touching practice, it is an opportunity for us to bow down, and whether we're bowing down to the great ancestor tree in Congo Square to listen, laying down the things that we need to lay down, but also making space to listen and to hear, um, it becomes a sort of guide for us. It leads us and shares and opens that door for us. So we found this place in the seventh ward of New Orleans, and it just appeared to us. It was a call also to how do we find ourselves in a historically communally, culturally rooted place, so that the Buddha Dharma just becomes what it is, essentially, right? Those that live here walk. A lot of our Sangha members walk. They live few blocks from here. And we've become this community that we're very proud of here in the Seventh Ward. And the community has also embraced us. And it's a continued relationship day to day, right? So how do we continue to grow? How do we continue to learn? How do we continue to partake and listen to this great culture, the land that we're on, and uphold it and lift it, and in turn give back to it? And that's also a part of our healing practices. So whether it's our peace vigils, on New Year's, we actually held an overnight meditation of 12 hours of silence retreat, and it was called Cultivating Seeds of Stillness. So we went into the new year. We're about 7 blocks from the attack on New Orleans Day. And the very next day, as we come out of the meditation, holding it over through the night in these meditation hours, we were cultivating great seeds of peace and stillness right here, while this horrific trauma was happening very near to us and to our community. So it's things like this where it's not just that particular trauma, but it's everyday living. And how do we cultivate a healing space right here in the Seventh Ward, in New Orleans, in Louisiana, in the United States of America, in this great universe, in the cosmos? How do we become a portal for holding this kind of thing for the life that we're experiencing, whether societal, economic, or political? How are we holding space here? And that is our giving back. And these are our peaceful steps as we do our walking meditations in our community. We're in the South, so we're greeting our neighbors in this walking meditation. And how do we let the land shape our Buddhist practices so that we can be engaged, embody the Dharma, and not try to sculpt our Buddhist practices and put that onto the ways of the world and how we are in community. So that's what's really important for us. And we are learning how to co-create that collectively. And it's bringing us a lot of joy, a lot of remembrance, a lot of connecting to our ancestral traditions that some of us have been called back to. So it's also an exploration of what that looks like for us. So we don't see it as it's just part of the work. You know, there's not any really asking. It's listening and learning and being able to adjust and to remember, and also to look to those that are already doing the great work alongside us.
I think that is such a wonderful thing. But and just to go back just to briefly what we talked about, where a lot of the many of the Sangha members that you have are in walking distance, and I think that there's something so important about having your space reflect the community. Like there really is something about, oh, not everyone's just driving in to make this work. Like this could be and is something that is reflective and expressive of the community itself. It is something that is being encouraged and developed and manifested by the neighborhood, by the Seventh
Absolutely.
Ward. And so I think that it's really, really special. And two, I appreciate the amount of care and intention and awareness that you intend to bring it, try to bring, do bring to the establishment of Sangha House Nola, and not trying to impose what the Buddhism is that maybe you learned in your training, or maybe what other Sangha members have had and experiences elsewhere in the world, or within whatever they found in digital or literary spheres. But it's making sure that this is coming up together with the neighborhood, with the world that we live in, with the neighborhood you live in, and making sure that it is integrating, um, and exchanging back and forth with where you are and who you are around. And it really did seem like I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but it was really cool because I believe maybe 10 months ago, 8 months ago, there was a video published on the YouTube channel that was recording the maybe the establishment, the official establishment of Sangha House Nola, or something like that. It was like a big ceremony, and it's about an hour and a half or so online. And the recording shows you some spoken word, some poetry, I believe there's some drumming, there's some speeches, there's also some processions, prostrations, there's an altar space that's outside, there's music, there's like so much going on. And it really does seem like it is reflective of so many elements of community, of Buddhism, of what can be manifested. So it really does seem like a very special place. And the other thing I wanted to get into before I go into the traveling monk, which is just something that I also feel like has a lot of elements of that not imposing, but like letting whatever's there reflect how you will be interacting and engaging with people when you traveled. The There is a residential component that's available for Sangha House Nola, and I was wondering, what is it like to live an intentional life, or to try to live an intentional life, but also to live that intentional life in community? I was just wondering what that experience has been like for you.
It's actually been really beautiful to be back in community after 3 years of living this way, right? In a supportive, contemplative way. After 3 years of traveling and living in the van with the temple cat and moving across the nation and just showing up for what is in front of us, as we open our doors and step out of the van. It has been a way to find a balance. Also to not be too attached. However, also at the same time inviting the Sangha into that contemplative living and that contemplative practice by the embodiment of that. What it's like living, you have to ask them. There is a lot of noble silence, a lot of, I like to say that I live the Zen lifestyle. I love to practice and embody the heart of the Mahayana teachings and to live and practice the meditation way of the Theravada practices. And so it's this way of blend of my multi-lineage practices that allows me to really be in a contemplative way of living in my daily life and share that experience with the Sangha and also an invitation to them. It's been it's been beautiful. I couldn't ask for anything other. But also knowing that I'm supported by the larger community to be able to remain in my contemplative practice and to practice and study in this way with the Buddha Dharma being timeless, good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. Being able to express it in a way that is authentic and right here and right now for us. And this is what this expression gets to look like for us. And it's been an honor to be able to listen and to cultivate and allow for that teaching to maybe make the Dharma path a little bit wider in the myriad of ways that we awaken, right? So there's, paying homage to our Asian American Buddhist ancestors who brought this great American Buddhism. And what does that look like for us outside of typical white spaces or contemplative spaces? What does that look like? And how do we continue to pay homage to those ancestors who brought the teachings here? And to continue to allow that to grow, to meet a wider path of people and to liberate from the ways that we suffer, right? To liberate us from the ways that we suffer. And how do we do that culturally, together, collectively, with the practice of interbeing that includes all, with a focus of how it shows up in our bodies, speech, and mind, right? So this is the ultimate way that we keep bringing it back, but to be supported in one, by the land, secondly by the community, and then the Sangha that continues to grow and step into their own direct experiences of the Buddha Dharma. This is the impact that I was sharing with you earlier. Being able to witness that as one who lives a contemplative lifestyle in the community. I wouldn't ask for it any other way. I really wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I hope that we have a bigger space soon. I would love a hermitage. I'm calling that into manifestation just for a little bit more privacy and practice and solo retreat, just so that I can show up in greater ways for the community and continue to be nourished. But we also are stepping into our engaged services. So to be able to cook to our community, respond to the basic essentials of our community. What does that boundless love and action look like? And how do we turn our Buddhist practice more into our engaged services? How do we become a storehouse of supplies? How do we incorporate the larger community and the nation to respond to the needs of those in front of us as a sort of engaged Dharma?
Mm,
And
mm.
so we have outgrown this space. It's great. It's beautiful. And we definitely want to stay in the midst of the seventh ward as it has cared for us. And we want to continue to give back. But these are our next steps. So we're hoping by fall of 2026 that we can start looking at property. We need larger kitchens. We need transportation to be able to take people from certain places, whether that's work or transitional housing, just to respond to the needs of our community, to really be the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha in action, and to share with our community as they share with us so beautifully all of the healing work that they do. How do we make a space for ourselves, and what does that look like?
Well,
And
that's a
that's where
wonderful.
we are.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to hear that you're at the point where you are dealing with, outgrowing a space. I mean, to have that much energy,
What a
to have a
blessing.
yeah, exactly, a blessing, and to be able to consider expanding, or to having a little bit more space, and then to develop a little more infrastructure. These are things that it takes work and energy and effort and logistics and organization, but yeah, the blessing element is certainly there. So I'm really excited about the development for you and for your sangha. It's a really wonderful thing to hear. And yeah, I mean, like vision wise, I mean, is having the hermitage maybe a little bit outside, maybe a little bit somewhere where you have a little more privacy, a little more space, maybe some more outdoor space. As far as the vision goes, I mean, do you wish that this is something that can reach a larger audience within Louisiana as a whole? Would you want to have other centers or sangha houses develop in regions beyond Louisiana? I was just curious, like, what if you had your world of worlds in this way, what would you want to see?
Absolutely, that is the vision, to have Sangha houses all over the nation, to have, for us to be able to respond as far as we can reach, as far as our expansion can go. Certainly in the state of Louisiana and greater New Orleans. But how do we respond to the traumas and to those tri-states and the neighboring states that are around us across state? How do we continue to show up and build communities that are putting the Dharma into action? So it's an opportunity for us to practice the teachings, those teachings that are really difficult, and for us to put them into practice, as the closing line says, and they were delighted and put them into practice. So that's our work, right? And we do see it expanding. We see it growing daily. It's ahead of us, it's outside of us, and we are in hurricane season now and storm season as well. And also be prepared for any chaos or anything that is coming our way as the world continues to do what the world is doing. How will we show up? How can we be prepared? How can we be responders? How can we practice that vastness and the capacity of our heart, just to that boundless love? Like, what does that look like in action? And how do we nurture ourselves and free ourselves from different ways that we suffer and respond, and the shock response? How do we show up? So we do see it expanding, but that is the vision. As far as the hermitage, Sangha first, right? Beloved community first. So if essentially our goal is to have a larger community space to practice out of, whether that's a church, we would love to be an historically Black church here in the community in the Seventh Ward, but we need kitchens that we can cook, and we need storage places that we can store basic essentials, responding to the kids' needs back to school, to those experienced domestic violence, or to the unhoused. So pretty much essentially the work of the traveling monk and the pilgrimage, but rooted here in the Seventh Ward of New Orleans, responding to our community, and showing up in that Buddha nature way. And this is what we're calling into existence. So if I got to go back to move into the van, or stay living in the community, so that we can have those things first and foremost, that's what's essential. And a hermitage would be close. It would be nearby, and it would just be a small place, very simple, very modest, a little garden, but somewhere where I can essentially practice the teachings and continue to further live the studies and live out this contemplative life for the Sangha, and show up for the Sangha. So it would be my nourishment. It doesn't have to be anything far away, or up on a mountaintop, or in a forest. Yeah, a small hut and a kuti is wonderful.
Nice. Yeah, and I hope that for you. I hope I can participate in that manifestation for you, because
Yeah, come on down, Vincent. Come on down.
I would love it. I would absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like, just to have that space, and to be able to offer more, to be able to cook for people that just for the community, but also just for people that might need that for storage for back to school supplies or essentials, and when things get rough environmentally, when things like hurricane season comes around, to be able to offer like supplies, or to be able to protect elements of the sangha and the community at large, is really important. And and this is I do think that national network, maybe even beyond, certainly could happen for Sangha House, just in the sense of what you were able to do in planting seeds and planting presence, your presence, through your work with the traveling nunc, and being behind the wheel of the Great Aspiration, which was, I think, believe was a 2003 Chevy van,
Still
and
rolling.
the what? It's still rolling?
It's
Yeah.
still rolling 286,000 miles,
Wow.
and she's still serving the community. We have a little kitchen that we hope to cook out of, and
Wow.
small steps now, but we're stepping into the larger way that we can show up. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. And I saw a video of kind of just as the journey was beginning, which I believe was in 2021, and there was the van that was set up, and it was all um constructed and by design to offer a space for you, the driver, to not only just to operate the vehicle, but there was like a meditation platform slash maybe sleeping area. It had an altar space, and it is a van that would travel all over the country and would offer you a place to stay and to operate out of. And you did this, it sounds like, for 3 years. What was that experience like? Because I know that you weren't always in Louisiana. You ended up there, but what was the experience like going, I believe, from California and traveling and meeting people and all of that?
The Great Aspiration was launched out of North Carolina, paying homage to my teachers, Monte Upanadipa and Venerable Pannavati. So coming out of Heartwood Refuge, North Carolina, and traveling through the South, doing the Bible Belt twice on a loop, and ending back in the West Coast. So certainly it was an initiation. It was these engaged services. What um, what is important in the here and now, and how do these teachings help those that are in immediate need, or what does that look like in these kinds of search situations and these impacts? Also traveling through certain civil rights markers and traumas and experiences that historically impact our soil. This was at the time of the killing and murder of George Floyd, the lynching of Ahmaud Arbery, and the time of the pandemic. So as I'm traveling through these spaces and essentially these healing spaces, I've been on great pilgrimages to holy sites all across the world. And I'm thinking of my time walking in the footsteps of the Buddha. And for me, it was essentially, I had never crossed the Edmund Bettis Bridge. I had never been to some of these great places in the South when I went to the Tallahassee River and sat and listened. And what is this Dharma? How good is this Dharma? How deep can it liberate me from the sufferings and the trials that are within the cells of these body, within the collective energy of the nation that I'm living in the soil? What does it mean for me to heal and listen ancestrally, to put steps of peace and walk in these same routes, right? So a lot of that energy was towards that, to show up in communities that have been devastated by systemic harm and suffering over time. What does the practice look like at that time? Sometimes not even the years of studying and the years of practicing the teachings, and also the years of meditation and the insight and the great wisdom that comes with that. When there's times when I'm in Seattle and I just need to know how to administer EpiPen, or to be with somebody who's escaping sexual trafficking and domestic violence and these kinds of things. Like, how do I just show up in these moments? What does my Buddhist practice mean to people in these great times in their life? And how can I just embody that? So what is that? Sometimes it's like, is it the robe? Is it the form? Is it the Buddhist teachings? Or can you just be present for the immediate suffering? What does that healing and that look like? And an opportunity to embody and share the Dharma, because curious seekers, and they're like, what is this light? What is it? This is the Dharma. This is the Dharma in me. This is how the Dharma shows up in me. Always there, always on time, always holding me. And that is how I share the teachings. This is what is my authentic way of walking out the path, and what I feel is important to those who inquire and seek the contemplative practices out that are tangible in the here and the now for our daily living in this world, as a form of freedom in the here and now,
Certainly.
liberation in our minds.
And I feel like the confined, or maybe the small living quarters that you had made it so that you had to be kind of out. Like you can't just be in the van all day.
Yeah.
You can't just have your doors shut and be sitting like that. I'd imagine that you found yourself really at the service of so many people because you were always in contact. You know, maybe you weren't always talking to everybody, maybe you weren't always uh, offering something to everyone at every single moment, but you always were in that space. You know, you were always kind of available and offering that light. And I'd imagine, I mean, did you journal at all when you were doing that? I mean, would you ever turn your experiences into a larger form book or anything like that?
That's very possible. I didn't do a lot of journaling, but I did a lot of listening. And what the van provided was an opportunity for me to go out, whether it was to the beach or to the snow or to the mountain, to the forest. And I could pack up and I would have my hermitage just in the middle of nature. So it was cultivating and nourishing me as I was doing the work in community. Sure, I would, right? There's a lot there, but what's coming are different forms of expression of the Dharma. Um, yeah, so such much greater projects, and Sangha House New Orleans will be a great piece of that, a great piece of that. And I hope to uplift our community and allow that to be the way that we share these experiences as well.
Mm.
So yeah, lots of things out there being called forth into fruition here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also too, I mean, there is this I'm sure there were hardships there because I believe I
Oh
read that
my.
there yeah
Oh
like a
my, there were.
you had like a loose steering wheel at some point, right? Or there were some I'm sure there were some breakdowns, some more than just heavy traffic, you know, on the road.
Yeah.
Uh did any particular uh maybe at the time setback or whatever it was teach you something about not just road travel and being out and about and being reliant on yourself and those that can help you around you, but maybe about practice that you would want to share?
Lots of First Noble Truth experiences, right? So yeah, I'm driving the country in a van. It's not a ProMaster. So lots of breakdowns, some weather experiences that I just didn't have the knowledge, as I wasn't weather hopping, so to say, but more of a call of where to go, when to respond, which direction to move in, and not being prepared, I think, for some snowstorms and some national forests, and being without water that freezes over, and just a lot of learning, right? So going to campgrounds that are snowed over and under snow, a lot of police knocks depending on the community where I is, as the nation moves towards moving those who live in their cars, and experiencing um, a sort of experience as those communities, right? So as those with lots of opportunity and lots of privilege at the same time, but experiencing different ways of suffering in the world, and being a part of these communities that are living behind buildings or living on certain streets where cars are parked. And so being in a lot of that was an experience of yeah, moment to moment understanding of the rising and the falling, and how the habitual tendencies and the mental formations want to say, this is me, this is I, this is mine. At the same time, it creates space for a great profundity of gratitude, because the larger community supported that vision, have been supporting me as a monastic on this path, and the myriad of ways that I like to show up, or the ways that I'm called. Gratitude to be able to experience and live the Dharma in this way. Um, and so, yes, lots of suffering, a lot of hard and difficult times, a lot of exhausting physical things on the posture and how to navigate living in a small space. But the Dharma was always there. You know, I always have the Dharma, and for that, there's always a way out. Um, and it's something that's helpful.
Mm.
And so, yes, those times were difficult. There was a lot of that, but the initiation and the experience, the people, the impact, traveling across the country with the Dharma eye is something to say. Definitely something to speak for.
Yeah. And you know, I reflect now on some people that have done memoirs or just written work about extensive travel, especially about the trying to get a pulse on America. You know, there are various people, Steinbeck and Kerouac, and these various people that have done extensive driving throughout the country. And I'm sure there are many more examples that have done video essays and things like that. And they're trying to understand what this country is all about. Uh, when you were doing this for 3 years, I don't know if you hit every state or you know it's hard. It's hard. It's a massive country. Uh, when you did that, I think that you were engaging not just with America at large, but also on like micro scales. But you were doing that with the Dharma eye. With that now, you know, that experience having been had after 3 years on the road, what is your take on America, like the state of America? I'm just curious what you think. I mean, I know that it's been some time since you've landed in New Orleans, but just wondering what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, so the collective consciousness of greed, hatred, and delusion, the historical seeds that, born out of genocide and enslavement and the capitalism, right? So when these things are not reconciled, this is because that is, and they essentially are existing, and you continue to see that I am a piece of this, whether I was happy to receive a roll of toilet paper or if I was happy to receive a campground where some great practitioner was like, Venerable, here, I would love to give you a campground for the weekend, and I'm sitting in indigenous land in Seattle on the waters with the great mountains holding me, um, or whether I'm sleeping under a bridge, um, that it was all the same, that they weren't different and they weren't separate, how they were inextricably linked. I think this is one of the greatest gifts of being able to look through living and being with the Dharma eye. So this was, I man, Tennessee is coming. A time when I spent in Memphis, Tennessee, and I witnessed so many different things, whether it was police violence or traumas and addiction, and the ways that I'm coming through a state of great poverty and unhoused, and seeing the aggressive architecture to push out the unhoused, or I'm seeing the mini golf course that is being built and put into downtown states or cities with great crime and great poverty. Um, it's all just there to see and to witness and see how perpetually this human mind, and habitually how it tends to move towards the greed and the intrinsic nature of our survival, right? So what is essentially us to survive, and when it becomes too much, and when what is also not enough, and to not, whether I'm pulling up at a red light and there's someone there who has a sign, is inquiring for food or their basic essentials and just needing help, to not pass by these things. What does it mean to live and be on a pilgrimage where it's not normalized, and to understand the mind that says, I'm on my way to Starbucks, I got to get to work, and I got to do this kind of thing. And yes, there's someone laying over there on the ground in these kinds of conditions, but the light is green and I need to pull off, to really kind of retract and look with the Dharma eye. And whether I'm sitting behind the steering wheel or I'm sitting at the foot of the tree, what is the causes and conditions of this suffering? What are those causes and conditions of this kind of suffering within myself? And where are those that need to be uprooted? And how do I respond to that in the world? Right, with what little, and whether that's just my presence, the space of freedom and liberation and joy that I have, or whether it's enjoying a simple moment of listening to a story, going to an encampment, and what I call is a shared circle in an encampment, where people are coming out of their tents and bringing rested chairs and all of their loved companions and sharing their meals and their conversations with me, and just these two are my teachers. This is an opportunity to have a Dharma talk right here in the right now. Um, and so love is also the greatest thing that I witnessed, regardless of the community that I was in. I might get a double take on who are you, what is this robe that you're wearing, especially if it was in a certain community. But essentially, when I was able to embody love and to have a mind free of a self, this conditioned self that instills the fear, how do I continue to look into the eyes of all beings in love and compassion without a discriminating mind? That this body in this city, in this town, in this sundown town, how do I stay? How good is this Dharma? How liberating and how freeing is this Dharma for me right here, for my ancestors right here, for this land and our collective energy right here in this land, to stay with it, to, how much has it uprooted and what's left? Where is the stain? Where is the hurt? Where's the relational thing that I still need to uproot? And how can I be the vessel? How can I continue to lay myself down so that I can fill myself with the Dharma and continue to have the capacity to respond to that? How do I continue to chisel that out, like the stone of effacement? Like, what work am I doing on me? So when I'm in these places or in these experiences, it gives me so much work to do. And I think that is what the greatest joy is, because the Dharma will continue to point right there, right there, right there. And that is the ultimate goal, right? So keep pointing me to the ultimate goal of uprooting these things, these habitual tendencies within myself. And in turn, how can I be that in the world? And not to change the conditions of the world, right? But to be a changer of that, to be a doer and a maker of the merit that is creating new seeds, that this no longer exists in me. Like, can this no longer exist in me for my next breath, for my next step, for my descendant? So it's always the great mirror of wisdom, where the Dharma is like right here and right now. It's one thing to look externally in the conditions of the world, but as the sixth sense bases and the mind consciousness turn us internally, this is our view of the world. And in that, you can also find great joy, great love, great peace, great humanity, great interbeing practices, amidst the pain and the suffering as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you also so much for just meeting those moments, because they sound like they can happen on a hyper local level where, yeah, you could stop at a red light and there's someone there, and oh, I really need to get to Starbucks to before I get to work, and I have my routine and all that.
The whole
Yeah,
chain, right? Like, yeah.
and there's something really profound about breaking routine and seeing what that does for anybody, and the event, not only just the adventure that you say yes to, more or less, but for maybe the growth that can happen too. Like, what if you decided to help that person that was outside of the store, that's literally asking for it, instead of going about your day, whatever
Yeah.
that is. Not to
Yeah.
say that your day is not important. I'm sure that there are various responsibilities that someone has that they have to take care of. But what if we took that adventure? What if we took that adventure to
Mhm.
hold space for that person? So thank you for doing that all over the country for 3 years.
Yeah.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. Um, and I know we're coming close to our time. This has been such a wonderful conversation. I just had two more questions that are a little bit on the smaller side, just in the sense of one being about promotion. Like, is there anything that you would like to get more eyes and ears on, share more with the world more broadly, and just as while you think about that, I wanted to offer some things that I'm aware of that are coming up for you. There is a seminar coming up, I believe. It's called Exploring the Sacred Feminine, Women's Leadership in Buddhism. That's running from August 7th to July 11th. Oh, wait, this is maybe from
That
2024,
was
25.
last
That already
year.
happened. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Wow. I
we're
don't know.
always doing that. The sacred
Okay, good.
divine feminine is always here. But
Okay.
yes,
Okay, good, good. Okay.
yeah.
Is that coming up again, or is there going to be another seminar like that?
No, I don't have anything planned for this year other than yes, the Sangha here. The
Okay,
Sangha
got it.
here and the great work that they're doing.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Okay, well, I'm sorry for.
We do have a day of mindfulness coming up, September the 20th. Some things are still in the works, so we can't reveal all of that, but it is going to be a great time in community here on Black Bayou Road in New Orleans. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a 10 to 4 event where the Sangha and the community gets to practice mindfulness in the community. It's a great opportunity for us. It's one of the most historical indigenous pathways here in the community, that takes you from the bayou to the river, right? So we'll have an opportunity to share walking meditation, eating meditation, a Dharma talk, some lyrical Dharma by my great dear friend Ofosu, who will come and practice with us and share great practices and teachings from his new book, Lyrical Dharma. And so we hope to make this a great celebration and expression of the Buddha Dharma in community. So this is our next big event, September the 20th, and it'll be our annual event, sort of like the one that you were speaking of on YouTube, which was our grand opening last August. Wow. Yes, last August was an opportunity for us to invite the community to our temple and to share what that looks like collectively. And now it'll be a chance for us to take our days of mindfulness, which we offer here once a month from 8 to 4. But we'll be able to take it out into the community. And we're really excited about this.
Wonderful. And so
Yeah.
maybe more information to come on
More
the
information to come.
Sangha House NOLA, NOLA.org, right?
Yes.
That'll be where that is. And that's where you can also learn about residencies and applications for that, retreats, donations. And you also offer through Traveling Nunk, NUNK.org. You have information about the Great Aspiration. You have newsletters, retreats, donations, blogs. You offer consultations. It's really wonderful how many resources you have, and that you're willing to share. And It does sound like indeed what's coming up in September is a very meaningful thing. And also, I wanted to offer a space for just broadly any advice that you'd want to offer to people. Like, so, is there any advice that you'd want to give to somebody who is walking the Buddhist path that you would have wanted to have heard as you were kind of coming up through it?
Yeah, come and see for yourself. I think Ehipasiko, come and see for yourself, have a direct experience of the Dharma, its teachings, the taste of liberation that it provides for you. I think this is the greatest gift. I remember sitting in the monastery in Deer Park, a monastery in Escondido, under the teachings of the great Zen master, the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, and there was this calligraphy that would be beautiful, be yourself. And this is essentially what Traveling Monk um, was born from, an idea of even taking a monk or a nun and the boundaries of which this experience can help us to step into. What is this experience for me? What is going to be my expression of that? And how at the same time, in either attachment of either extreme, how does it even break through the boundaries of the ways that we identify and the ways that we create the suffering for ourselves? But what is the greater freedom and liberation that comes out of something like this in this expression? And what is the responsibility to hold it sacred to its true meaning and its true tradition, right? So this is an opportunity for you to come and find the Dharma for you that frees you and liberates from this particular body in this lifetime, and how we're creating this lived experience and how we wish to uproot that habitual craving and tendencies for the next rebirth linking experience, right? So come and see for yourself, have a direct experience of that expression. And as the Dharma continues to change, yes, the Dharma will continue to show up, but it also will continue to change as we continue to evolve and change and to get free. So what is that expression for us? What is our lived experience? How do we make it true for ourselves? The Dharma is all encompassing. So if we experience a Dharma that might feel a little bit limiting, how do we take what's good? It's good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. Turn it inwardly for the inward parts and how it comes back out. And what is our expression of that? How do we continue to remain true to its core purposes and its true teaching? What is let the Dharma work on me, let the Dharma shine through me. And let it continue to show up and guide me in the ways that I need to be guided and that I need to be free here and the now. And how is that going to help me in my daily life? So that would be the only thing I would like to share, is to come and see for yourself. Let the Dharma do you, let the Dharma work on you, and be a living expression of that Dharma. Let it catapult you on and off the cushion.
Venerable Dayananda, thank you so much for speaking with me. This is that was
Thank you.
such a wonderful conversation, and thank you for offering that come and see for yourself, because it really is like you gotta do it yourself. It's gotta maybe it happens work the Dharma works on you, but really being open to that direct experience. So thank you for offering that, and thank you for making yourself so available to to this country, and to spreading your work and efforts into the hyper local within the seventh
Mhm.
ward, and all these things. You're very generous with your time, and so thank you for sharing it with me today.
Thank you, Vincent. Yes, thank you.